Hey everyone, Tech here. Welcome to Tech's Tavern. Grab a brew, pull up a chair, and let's continue our Let's Play on Crusader Kings 2 Croatia. And thank you for bearing with me on the gap since the last episode. But we had a few things going on here and there, but I kind of have an agenda for several episodes here. However, this first episode, I'm going to do something just a little bit different. It's kind of something that a few people asked for. It's also something that I kind of hinted at a while back, so it's going to be a little bit different. I know I have a lot of things to get at. One thing in particular, a mistake that someone pointed out, I guess it was just because I was kind of in a hurry and a misclick at the end of the last episode. I didn't mean to send my Chancellor to... I didn't mean to send him to France. I meant to send him to the Holy Roman Empire. And one thing that's interesting, I noticed with Holy Roman Empire, is they moved their capital all the way over here to Lyon, which is kind of strange. I hadn't noticed that before, so I'm gonna have to correct that and move him over here because I kind of want to just keep in good, relations with them. There's a few other things I need to fix too. I'll point them out now just so some of you guys are aware that I'm aware. One thing is I think I have too many duchies. I think I have like 3 or 1, 2. How many do I have here? Those are all the counties. We got Bosnia, Galicia, and Slavonia. So I got one too many because I was picking up Galicia. So I need to hand that off, which I'll go ahead and do that right now. I'm just going to hand it off to Leonidas for right now. So what I'm going to do is, well, actually, oh, actually, we'll work on that in a minute, because I may want to think on that for a second, depending on what we decide to do with some of the Poland stuff. Because we do, and I'm keeping it paused for right now, we do need to help our grandson in Poland, I think, with his current struggles. Yeah. So we'll look at that in a minute. The one thing I wanted to do real quick on this episode, and then we'll pick it straight up in the next one, is I wanted to kind of do a quick review of our prior kings for those who maybe haven't caught all the series, maybe only watched the last 20 episodes or so. I kind of wanted to go, since we hit the monumental number of 100 episodes on this LP, I kind of wanted to go back and just show a quick history here through the family tree of what has happened. Our first king we started with here was King Dimitar, and when we started, he was only a duke of 3 counties, I believe it was. It was either 2 or 3 counties the way he starts out, and kind of show him over here. You can see he lived to the age of 67. Some people, and my memory is a little fuzzy without going back and watching the first 20 episodes, some people stated that he actually didn't become a king, but I think in a way he did, because he kind of became the ruler of Croatia, but he didn't really unite the entire Croatian nation. That was done by his son Ash. But Dimitar was very good at the beginning. I had very few troubles with him. He went through that early process of kind of gobbling up one county next door and then gobbled another one up, and he really did set kind of the groundwork, so to speak, for our Croatian Empire. And like I said, he did very well early in the beginning. Here you can kind of see. He had at his death, I guess, had the county of Varaždin, Zagreb and Križevec, Duchy of Slavonia, Kingdom of Croatia. So he really did set everything up. I believe his death was around episode 20 in the LP. If you never saw episode 20, I personally think it was quite an epic episode where he passed away, and I kind of did some little fancy cuts and whatnot in it. So you may want to go back and check that out if you never saw it before. But it was pretty neat. So then after King Dimitar came King Ash the Drunkard. which fits quite nicely with our tavern. But King Ash did accomplish quite a bit. I believe, if I recall correctly, King Ash, he lived until about episode 53 in the LP, I think it was. It was like 53, 54, somewhere right around there. And he had to deal with basically reclaiming all of the Croatian Empire, and then also had to deal with some of the early aggressions from Hungary, because we had a few issues, if I recall, where Hungary was attacking us. And he had some issues too. I think it was with Millman or somebody who was constantly causing problems internally. And so he really kind of started that whole thing. And I believe it was a combination between him and then his son Lucas, who was Lucas the Great. Between the two of them, I think they kind of turned that whole Hungary takeover, kind of went on right during that period. I also believe, and I'm going from memory again, some of you who've watched the whole series more recently, because I haven't actually gone back and watched it all recently, if I recall correctly, the transition from Dimitar, our first king, to Ash, our second king, was actually very, very smooth. I think I had very little revolt on that particular one. And then if I recall correctly, though, I think I don't remember if it was from Ash to Lucas or from Lucas to his heir, which was another Lucas. I think the transition from Ash to Lucas was a very rough revolt, if I recall right. It was a very, very bad revolt, because I think I had just taken Hungary over and hadn't really had enough time to assimilate the masses, and it was a very bad revolt. And I remember it took me several hours of fighting, it was like 5 or 6 hours, and I ended up doing a time lapse and an edit to edit that out, because I didn't want to do 12 episodes on that. But we did get through it pretty cleanly, actually, and it worked out pretty well. So then after Ash, who again, Ash was kind of he was the catalyst king who really changed everything. Dimitar set it up, but Ash really took all of Croatia and I believe mostly did the whole Hungary takeover. And then it was Lucas who had to deal with the big revolt, and he dealt with that. Lucas the Great, obviously, and kind of tried to unify the combination country of Croatia and Hungary. And I think Lucas also started dabbling, taking some of the Serbian areas as well, and getting into that. But he had a very good reign as well. Didn't really have a whole lot of issues. As you can see, he held a lot of things during his reign here. And I think he did have the Kingdom of Serbia. You can see here, he was the one who actually, I think he was the first king, well, maybe not, maybe the, or no, let me look at Ash again here. Ash might have held it as well. I thought he might have been I thought Lucas might have been the first one that had actually 3 kingdoms, but it might have been Ash as well, so I'm not really sure on that one. But yeah, Lucas the Great did really well. As you can see, all my kings kind of lived into their mid to late 60s is kind of where they made it to. After Lucas the Great, we then turned to his son, which I don't believe it was was it intended that way? Yeah, I guess it was. Yeah, he was named Lucas again as well. And as you can see here, he had a lot of daughters, Lucas the Great did, but he only had 2 sons, I believe. So yeah, that was a little touch and go there, I believe. So then after that was Lucas the Unready, which Lucas the Unready did pretty well. He died a little earlier than the previous kings, but he did pretty well overall. Had to deal with a lot of revolts. He also initiated a couple little land grabs, taking a few individual counties away from the Byzantine Empire. And had to deal with a few little revolts here and there, but overall he did very well. Did pretty well on his own. And you can see here, looking at his children, that Dimitaro, who we named in honor of the original Dimitar, was, I think, one of only 2 sons. I think the other one was Conan, but they were the only 2 sons that he had. So it's kind of like we've had a lot of daughters throughout this dynasty. So, and then of course, from Lucas we go to our latest king right now, Demetaro, who Demetaro is kind of late in his reign. He's at 54 now, so he's kind of getting late in his reign. And if you're very new to the series, he had several sons actually. He's had 5 sons, I believe it is. But a couple of them have already passed away. We had Gabriel, which was his oldest son, who we skipped him on the airship because he was an imbecile, I believe it was. Yes, he was an imbecile. So we kind of skipped him on the ladder. We had, who was it? We had Justin, who was the heir for a while, but then he, I guess he died, and I can't remember what it was, but he died at a very early age. We were grooming him to be the king, and he died at an early age, and so then it pushed Ulfhedin, the infamous Ulfhedin, into position to be the heir. He actually, both of them actually held Venice too. That was a period where we took the small country of Venice and then put them in charge. We put Justin in charge at first, then he died, and then we put Ulfhedin in charge of Venice at that time. And then after Ulfhedin had a kind of a mysterious death, said a period of illness at age 22. I think he might have been assassinated or something because people weren't appreciating a Croatian ruling in Venice, I guess. So but Ulfhedin was ousted, and then currently our heir is Leonidas, and we do have one other backup, which is Maximus, which is our youngest son. But right now we're kind of putting some of our bets on Leonidas. Now, however, one thing that was unique with Leonidas is that we had married him to the Queen of Poland, and they had a son. And the current situation is now, though, is that she died again under mysterious circumstances. Leonidas was imprisoned for a while by the Holy Roman Empire, and now the grandson, King Demetaro. So we have two King Demetaros. We have our King Demetaro, who is the king of Croatia, and we have his grandson, who is the reigning king of Poland right now. But he's in a battle. They're trying to take him over, and right now it looks like there's a battle to lower crown authority, which he is winning, it appears. And then there's a kind of a independence war, which is pretty early on. So that is the kind of the current history of our LP through 100 episodes. Again, I kind of just wanted to show this for people who were curious. Is again, we started off with Demeter, then we went to King Ash, the Drunkard, then to Lucas the Great, then to Lucas the Unready, and then our current situation, which is King Demetaro the Great. So we've had a very strong line of kings. We've covered almost 200 years, and so we're on our 5th king. So I don't know. We cover 40 some odd years with each king, roundabouts. We've had pretty good transitions in most cases, except for the one, and they've done pretty well overall. So that, like I said, that's kind of our history lesson episode. Now, I'm going to go ahead and stop the episode here, but another episode will be coming very soon. But I do want to cover here towards the end a couple of things, so maybe I can get a few feedback before the next episode, which should be in a day or so. But I'm going to do a couple things on my to-do list. Number 1 is to correct our Chancellor item. Number 2 is to consider jumping in on the Poland thing. Now, one thing that was a suggestion that was brought up quite a bit, which I'm going to look at, is the potentiality of helping him to secure Poland and then naming him the heir instead of Leonidas, with the idea being is that if then our current King Dimitaro passes away, the other King Dimitaro would then be in control of both Croatia and Poland. And so then we can just kind of unite. We can have him unite Poland under Croatia, designate Croatia as our primary title, so to speak, and then basically we would take this over and we would almost have a, sea to sea lock here, which would be interesting. We do have some other issues going on, like Byzantine is going through some serious battles right now. As you can see, they look like a serious quilt pattern going on throughout here. They got so many weird issues going on, it's crazy. We are in pretty good relations with the Holy Roman Empire, so we don't have to worry about the backside, but we do have the whole Golden Horde thing. They're just, you can see here, all the old Christian countries are being wiped from the map. They're kind of pushing through this whole area here. So that's something to look at. I do have a couple other things. I think we had to get some religion things sorted out on the Galish counties, so that's another thing I need to look at. I also need to decide what I'm going to do with these guys who did this last revolt that I have in prison. You can see it's the usual suspects: Duke of Pest, Duke of Nitria, and yes, I know I pronounce all these wrong. So we would think over 100 episodes people would stop saying that I pronounce things wrong. But anyway, we'll carry on. But yeah, Duke of Pest, Nitria, Pex. Some of these guys I'll release, like the ones with the higher opinion. I'll go ahead and release and hope that they can chill. The Nitria guy, I don't know about him. I'm almost tempted to leave him in there until he dies. I'm very tempted to leave him in there because I think he's been causing a few other problems before. So I don't know. I'll have to think on that one for a minute. But that was a pretty serious revolt. And another thing I'll touch on just before we wrap this one up is I've had a couple people comment that since the new Old Gods expansion and with the patch, even if you're not running the actual expansion, a lot of advances and changes have been made to the AI. It's much more opportunistic right now than it used to be. I've actually had some people tell me that other Crusader King 2 LPs that they have watched have gone haywire since this, where the AI is much more adept as far as when, taking an opportunity to hose you. And in our last couple episodes, on episode 99 and 100, when we were trying to do this little Galish takeover, a perfect example of it was how that revolt, the timing of it just popped up at exactly the wrong time. I'm sitting there trying to take over these couple counties, hurrying it up before, something goes south on it. And bam, I get this massive revolt that happens. And if it wasn't for the fact that Byzantine already has a bunch of nonsense going on, Byzantine they kind of did send an army trying to interfere a bit, and then I was able to sidetrack it by negotiating a takeover piece, so to speak. But Byzantine probably would have attacked me if they wouldn't have already had all these other issues going on. So it's kind of a case now where you have to be real careful about initiating conflicts, with one country, because another country may be sitting there waiting to take advantage of that situation, along with any factions may use that as an opportunity to revolt while you're doing something else. So it's much more dangerous in the game, so to speak, now than it used to be. And yes, I know I said so to speak like 3 times there, but it's much more dangerous now in the game than it used to be, and so it's something that you have to be aware of whenever you're initiating any kind of conflicts on one border. You have to kind of pay attention to the border on your backside, because they may decide to capitalize on your being distracted, so that's something to be aware of. And I know, like I said, I've had a couple people, Ulfhedgen told me in particular that he watches a couple other Crusader King LPs in addition to mine, and he told me that one other LP that he was watching, and I forget the name of it now, basically just got demolished, where the AI took an opportunity to hose over the guy who's doing the LP, and that he was running pretty smooth up to that point. So this was something that just happened during the Old Gods, patching. So that's something to be aware of. So again, we'll go ahead and end this history episode here. I know we didn't get any time ticked off because we have several things we want to do, but we will kick off those in proper on episode 102. So thanks for joining me. Hope you guys enjoyed the history who were not familiar with all of it, and I will catch you guys next time in the tavern.